desire to be a part of the military has always been a deep desire. My father was drafted during the Korean War, and he left Chattanooga to go to Rhode Island, and that's as far as he left. And when he came back to Chattanooga, he never left again. And he never talked about the Navy. So that was just my thing. I wanted to be part of the military. I thought serving your country was the highest achievement that you could do. It's an honor to be a part of a country where we are free to serve, and then a country where we are free to be all that we can be. But unfortunately, I grew up during the segregation time, and as a colored person, a Negro, a Afro-American, a African-American, and a Black, that was not one of the things that you thought about doing, being part of a country that promoted freedom for everyone but you. But that was still my desire to be a part of the military. When I finished school in an all-Black high school that had only white teachers, I still wanted to go into the military. My mom was very much opposed to that, and because I was 16, I could not join. I received a 4-year scholarship to the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, and I was part of a 500 student base that joined UTC as being the first part of integrating UTC. It was originally called the University of Chattanooga, but they joined the region and became the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, and I was part of the 500 students that came on campus. I was given a 4-year degree scholarship in engineering, and my mom was very excited. To have a child to go to college was really exciting for her and my dad, but it had no excitement for me because that's not where I wanted to be. And so I told her, I said, well, I will go at the very day I turned 18. She said, give me 1 year. And if you don't like it, you don't have to stay, and I will sign. I said, sounds like a plan to me. So I did. I went to UTC, and I was up on the campus with all of my other sisters and brothers, and I did not like it. I loved engineering and drafting, but I did not like the idea of being up on the campus. There was very little that looked like me on that campus. And so I didn't feel at home there, but I still wanted to be part of the military. So after the year of college, I went to join the Air Force. They were out to lunch. And the Marine Corps guy was there. I knew nothing about the Marines, but I knew all about the Air Force.
That's awesome.
So the young man asked me, what did I want? I said, I came to join the Air Force so I could go to Vietnam. And he says, well, come on in here, girl. I got you covered. I can send you. I said, really? He says, yes. And we offer a much better deal than them. I have to give him credit because he could have sold me a swampland anywhere if it said I could go in the military and to Vietnam. So, of course, I went in, I took the test, I signed the paper, and he said, how old are you? I said, 17. He said, you can't go. I said, my mom will sign. She said she would. I've already checked on that. So my mom did sign. And in August of 1970, I got to go. I went to Nashville, to the station to where we lived, and I weighed in, and I didn't realize we had to weigh in when we left. And so I didn't weigh enough. And my buddy and I were together, and she was going to go, and I was going to get sent back home. until I could weigh 100 pounds. And I only weighed 95. So the recruiter said, well, go back to the hotel at night, eat all those bananas, and you will pick up the weight. I hate bananas. I could not eat a banana because I hate them. Growing up, we had banana sandwiches and peanut butter and banana sandwiches, and to this day, I cannot eat peanut butter or bananas. So I went to a fishing store, and I got a 2.5-pound weight chain and 5 of those little fishing things, and I put it around my waist because I knew the next morning I would be weighed with clothes on. So I weighed 100 pounds, and when I got to Savannah, the recruiter was there in Beaufort, South Carolina, is where they took us, and I handed him the weights and the change, and he says, I won't even ask you what they were for. And I said, thank you. And they put me on the bus to Paris Island, South Carolina. It was very hot there. I did not realize it got hotter than Tennessee, but it was hot there. So we get on the bus that night, and we get there, and the first stop was to let the men off. The drill sergeant gets on there, and he starts to scream at those poor guys. And they were running off that bus. And I said to the girl, who was my partner, that had come from Chattanooga with me, what have we gotten ourselves into? And when we get to our deportation position, the girl gets on, she says, ladies, would you please follow me? I said, yes, they want us, and they're not going to be mean to us. So we get there, we are late getting there, so everyone else has been processed, and we will not get processed till the next day. So the next day, we get up, and we get processed, and we are told, get up, stragglers. We need to process you. So from that moment on, we were stragglers. And then we get to our bunks. There is a barracks with nothing but 2 bunks that's located on top. And there's 40 in a bunk, and there were 80 of us. So we had 2 units. The next morning was Monday. I hear screaming. And it is dark 30, and there is someone at the end of the corridor just screaming her head off. And I couldn't imagine what was going on. I peeked around my bunk, and there's this little 5-foot woman down there just screaming, get out of those racks! Get on your feet! Who do you think you are? This is not home. I am not your mother. I said, Lord help me. Her name was Staff Sergeant Gray. She was a black female, which was nice because she looked like me. But she was nothing like a sister or a mother or a friend. She was a scary little short woman, and she was the size of my mom. But my mom did not carry on like that. At the end, I sang a lot, I danced a lot, and so she gave me a nickname. And so I was always wiggly, come here, wiggly, do this, wiggly, do that. And, but at the end, one day, my buddy was sent home, and I was all by myself. But I was determined that they were not going to send me home. I would stay. My mom was more of a catalyst for me to stay because my mom said, you never quit. My dad says, once you sign your name into a contract, your word is your bond, you will honor your contract. So going home was not an option. To stay and to pass was the only thing that I had. Every meal I threw. It was too hot. and she screamed too much. And I was very nervous all the time. So that was a problem. I went for my uniform fitting, and I lost weight. They had to take a panel out of my uniform because my uniform no longer fit. They put me on the diet line because I could not gain any more weight because we only had 3 more weeks to graduation, and if I lost any more weight, they were not going to graduate me. So I stood out on the diet line and I sang how fat I was. And then I had to lose weight, but in my particular case, they put me on the diet line so that I could gain weight. And so at the end, I did graduate. And when they asked me where did I want to go for my duty station, I said, well, I'm scheduled to go to Vietnam. That was the biggest laugh I think I've ever heard. All of those people in that office laughing to give you your MOS assignment. Sweetie, we don't send women to Vietnam in the Marine Corps. Only the men go. So where would you like to go? So the closest place I got was Santa Ana, California. And I did my time out there as a subsistence clerk, as a 3061. And the thing about a 3061, you could end up in Leavenworth. Because if your books do not balance, if people are stealing from you through the commissary and the PX, which are the things that you keep the books for, you could very well find yourself in Leavenworth. So that was the first thing when I got to my duty station and I got to my office. And I went up there and I talked to the guys on the dock. You will not steal from me. I got out of the military and I went back to college and I came back to Chattanooga. And I joined the ROTC program here at UTC and completed my college. I had signed a contract with the Army, and only if they needed me would I go. My goal was to go back to the Marine Corps. That year, they needed more women. Check. They needed more minority women. Check. They needed more prior service. Check. They wanted me to fill that contract. So I ended up in the Army. I began my career at Fort Gordon in the Signal Corps. I was a 25 Alpha, which meant that I was a combat communications officer. I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma to finish my training, and I was stationed in Frankfurt, Germany at the 32nd Signal Battalion, the largest signal battalion in the Army at that time. I found that as I began to have my military officers training, that they don't respect women. I had to be the catalyst to say, I have earned my dollars. I have done my time in the trenches. You will respect the rank if you do not respect the person. I think because I grew up in a time in which you had to be quiet, I was very vocal because I was the oldest of 6, and I was a leader. And as a leader, you have to have followers. And so I began to train the men and women underneath me that I was the leader and they would follow. If not, a 45 is what I carried to show my expertise as you will follow. But going there, I began to make the headway that I needed to. I made captain in 3 years. I was on the fast track to become major. I met my husband in the military. He wanted children, and I had a son. And that ended my career because I developed a heart condition that would no longer let me be green. I could only become orange, and that was the status of your redness. And because I was orange, it meant that I had to be stationed at a military post that had a doctor and a hospital in the event that my heart was no longer functioning the way that it should. So that ended my career. I did protest, and like my counterpart, they sent me a letter and said, thank you for your service, and you will be severed on such and such a date, and that was the end of my military career. But that was not the end of my joy for the military. My sons have followed my footsteps. My sister has followed my footsteps. And I have encouraged women to follow my footsteps. I believe in the military. I believe that we have a duty to serve our country and to be an example of what we can be. I am sorry that my sisters have experienced such horrendous treatment, because I never did have the experience that they had, because when I felt that I was being mistreated, I spoke up. I used the law to make them obey, because that's what the law is for. The military code of justice, I believed in, and for me, it served me well. I do believe, because I grew up in a segregation period, that I understood once they gave me my rights, I had to exercise them, and so I did. Last year, I met Patty Parks, whom I'm representing today, and we and the 50-some women that are now part of my unit, we wanted to become a voice of reckoning, so we became a unit. We are now part of military women across the nation, and we are Unit 157. And so we are now here in Chattanooga, and we are looking for all of our sisters, active duty, Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Marines. So if you know of any women that are out there, please get in contact with us, because I miss the camaraderie of my sisters. And so we want you to become part of who we are. We will be holding the Women's Summit here at the end of April. That's the 29th and the 30th. We will have it here in Chattanooga, so if you'd like to have some information about that, feel free to give me a call. My number is area code 423-877-2711. Again, I think that what I've seen here today is admirable for them to record who we are. I graduated from UTC. I am the first Black female to graduate from the ROTC program before they disbanded it. I am glad that they have brought that program back, because I think it's vital. I think it adds a flavor to the university that was missing when they removed it. I think that we serve a purpose in the military, and it is not one that should be disgraced. When I went in, women were not favorably looked upon. I had my uniform on. I was spat upon. I was called horrible names, but I served just the same. I have a faith that is grounded in Christ. I have a faith that my mother has always carried for me. I have a grandmother that has always dreamed a better dream than I could ever dream for myself. So I've had women in my life that have taught me we are important. And without us, there is a dimension that is always missing from any job that you ever serve. So because we are in the military, we make the military a better place than it would have been without us. Thank you.
Before I say anything, I would like for you all to give another round of applause to the